Good morning, students. Welcome to DSCJ home classes. Today we are going to start lesson number 4, Lay, written by Andrew Harvey. So first of all, I would like to give you a brief introduction of the writer Andrew Harvey. Andrew Harvey was born in South India in 1952 at Coimbatore, and he lived until the age of 9 years in India. After that, he left India to attend a private school in England, and he entered Oxford University in 1970 to study history on a scholarship. At the age of 21, he was awarded England's highest academic honor, Fellow of All Souls Colleges. He became the youngest ever person to be awarded with this prestigious award. In 1977, Andrew Harvey again returned to India to begin his spiritual search. He has studied a variety of religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity, and he has edited and written over 30 books. He has written a book titled A Journey in Ladakh. It is basically a travelogue in which he describes the landscape, the culture, and history of Ladakh while he traveled across the region. And this Leh has been taken from a journey in Ladakh. So far as Leh is concerned, you might have heard about various places of tourist attraction, various health resorts across the country or across Jammu and Kashmir, such as Srinagar, Gulmarg, Patnitop, and other tourist destinations. Leh is also one of the places that attracts a considerable number of tourists. Leh is one of the two districts of Ladakh region. Earlier it was a part of our state Jammu and Kashmir, and now it has been separated, and it is a separate union territory, Ladakh. It comprises of two districts. One is Kargil and another is Leh. And Leh is the second largest district area wise in our country after Kutch district in Gujarat. And it covers an area of 45,110 square kilometers. And it is situated at a height of 3,524 meters from sea level. In this essay, the writer has given an account of his experiences while traveling across Leh, and he has written about the main attractions there, the culture of the people, their religious faith, their social and linguistic aspects, he, in the beginning of the lesson, the writer says that he was traveling from Leh to Stoke. Stoke is a nearby place from Leh town. It is near about 10 to 15 kilometers. And he was going by bus there. And he was traveling. There was an Italian girl also in the same vehicle. And the Italian girl asked the writer, "What do you think of Leh?" Actually, the Italian girl didn't like Leh. So she asked the writer, Andrew Harvey, that what do you think of Leh? The writer replied that I am fascinated. The girl asked surprisingly, "You are fascinated? How stupid. There is nothing left in Leh." She said that there is nothing left in Leh and you say that you are fascinated. But the writer again replied that Leh has its own charm. He said Leh does have charm, and it is that there is nothing whatever to do. The environment of relaxation, that is Leh's charm. There is nothing to do but to slow down, relax, to become one vast transparent eye. He said that whenever one goes to Leh, there is nothing to do, just to relax, just to become a vast transparent eye and see the nature, the natural beauty of the place. And he says that the solidest joy of Leh is seeing its palace from every angle and in every light from below, as it stands in the full dazzle of the morning sun, from the sight in the afternoon, from the roof of my hotel, as one of its sheer sides ignites slowly in the dusk from behind on the road to Leh from Sankar, as it rears ghostly in the moonlight, hardly distinguishable from the massy dark rock it is built on. Then the writer has described one of the most fascinating thing worth seeing in Leh, that is its old palace. It is situated at the end of the city at a height, and he says that it looks different from different views and during different times of the day. And he says that it during the dusk it is hardly distinguishable from the rock where it is built. Here you can see in this pic that how the palace looks and how the writer has compared. You can see the hills and mountains in the background also. So this is the old palace of Leh, and it is a protected monument, and many visitors visit to see it, to see the ancient architecture. And he again says that whenever you are haggling for vegetables in the market at sundown, haggling means bargaining. He says that whenever one goes to the market for buying vegetables, and while bargaining for the vegetables during sundown, and suddenly you look up and see the last sun catch the top of one of its balconies. There are many balconies at the top of the palace, and he says that whenever you are in the market and you suddenly look up at the sunset, you see that the sun catches one of its balconies, and you are talking to a friend in the evening walking up the main street, and as you walk, you talk, you see that the moon has risen above the palace and seems to be wearing it like a vast earring. He says that whenever in the evening you are walking in the market and you happen to see at the palace, at that when the moon rises, it seems to be as if it has worn it, as wears it like a large earring. Means he describes the beauty, the scenic beauty of the palace in different different times of the day and from different angles. Then again he says that you turn a corner of one of Lay's innumerable labyrinthine streets, and for a moment a whole flank of the palace stands in front of you, bare and stark as the mountains that surround it. Once again, he describes that whenever you are moving through the narrow, labyrinthine means narrow and zigzag streets of Leh, and you happen to turn up to see at the palace, and you see that it seems like it looks just like the mountain on which it is built. The queen and her family now live at a smaller palace at Stoke. 10 miles away, the palace of Leh is empty and crumbling. Now, at present, the palace of Leh is empty, it is abandoned, nobody lives there so far as and the family and the queen live at a smaller palace which is situated at Stoke, 10 miles away from Leh. When you walk through its large vacant rooms, fat tame mice come out of the dark corners to be fed, and whenever one goes inside the palace, there are empty dark rooms in the palace, and whenever one enters the rooms, there he can see that fat rats come out to be fed. And now he is going to Stoke. On the way to Stoke, there is a suspension bridge that spans the Indus, and the Leh Valley, the Stoke and Leh are separated by the river Indus, which flows in the middle of the valley, and while going to Stoke, one has to cross the river Indus, and there is a suspension bridge over river Indus, and from a distance it looks like a circus tent. It is so covered with prayer flags of every color. I am sitting on the seat next to the driver, a young Ladakhi, and I ask him, why are there so many prayer flags? It is their culture or their religious faith that every holy place is covered with prayer flags of different colors there. You can see in this pic that how these buildings are covered with prayer flags. Similarly, the bridge has been covered with many colored prayer flags, and from a distance it looks like a circus tent. And the writer is sitting on a seat next to the driver, who is a young Ladakhi, and I ask him, why are there so many prayer flags? He looks at me as if I am mad. If there were no prayer flags, the river would get angry. Then he adds. And when the writer asks the driver that why are there so many prayer flags, the driver at first looked at the writer as if he was mad, and then he said that if there are no prayer flags, it is their belief, it is their faith that the river would get angry. The bridge is nearly at the middle of the valley. The wind there is very strong, he says, adding that the bridge is situated at the middle of the valley and the wind there is very strong, and The prayers can be carried down the wind on the bank of the river all over this country. And see, he says that these prayers can slow the effect of the winds so that they may not turn violent. The prayers can be carried down the wind on the bank of the river all over this country. It is such a festive and exuberant gesture, covering the steel lines of the bridge with scarves and mantras and holy dragons, and I want to sing. The writer here feels that it is a very lively scene, and he feels very excited to see the holy mantras and dragons carved on these prayer flags, and he also wants to sing these prayers and these mantras. The driver turns to me and smiles. Every time I cross this bridge, I say my prayers. And the driver then turns towards the writer and says that whenever I cross this bridge, every time I say my prayers here. It is holy, this bridge. And he says that this bridge is very holy. They consider it a holy. How old is the bridge? He does not know. It is as if it had always been there, like the stupas, like the small wayside shrines. And it seems to the driver that it is as old as it has been always there, like the other stupas and other wayside shrines that are found in Leh. The spirit of Ladakh has changed it into a shrine, an object of worship, and the faith or the belief of Ladakh has changed this bridge into a place of worship. They have changed it into a holy place. Does the bridge have its guardian Buddha? The driver smiled and did not answer. And when the writer asked him that does the bridge have Buddha as its guardian, the driver smiled and answered that he doesn't know about it. So आज का हम इतना ही रखेंगे, क्योंकि ये वीडियो फिर ज़्यादा लंबी हो जाती है। तो अभी तक जो आपको इसमें पता लगा कि लेह जो है एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत जगह है, और ये इसकी जो टोपोग्राफी है, जो वहाँ की क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस हैं, और जो वहाँ का कल्चर है, दैट इज़ टोटली डिफरेंट फ्रॉम आवर्स। एंड when one goes there, he feels as if he has come to a strange world. So we will continue in the next. Thank you.